Hello YouTube. Today I'm going to go over a relatively new kit I put together. I don't do general IT work all that often. It usually doesn't pay as well as the other contracting stuff I do. But Work Market, a site I get occasional work from. A lot of the stuff on there is IT related, and once in a blue moon there's something where the pay is reasonable enough that I like to go for it. So this is something I put together for situations like that. I'll go over in a second. I have some other things I'm meaning to make videos on. There's the backpack I keep in my van. Some people would call it a get home bag or a bug out bag. I don't. It doesn't really fit those terms. It's not oh, I'm gonna grab this and live in the woods during the apocalypse. No, that's not what this is. It's more like a general preparedness, just in case stuff. And my low voltage tool bag. You can see MediCat sleeping on it. He loves to sleep right there for reasons I know not why. I've been meaning to make that video for a while, but there's a lot of stuff in the bag, and the more stuff you have to go over, the more times you fuck up making a video and the more takes you have to make. So it takes a lot of mental energy and time set aside, but I'll get to it eventually. Another thing I want to go over is I have new lighting set up so that my videos are less crap. You can also see there's like 5 switches there instead of 3. I redid my lighting to centralize controls for it and add these light panels. So lighting is better now. You may also be able to hear me more clearly. I'm not using my phone anymore. I'm using my survey camera, a Canon M50. So, let's get right. Oh yeah. And behold, my totally professional camera rig tripod that was definitely professionally set up. You can tell by all the cardboard pieces and the clamps and such. Absolutely, this elevates me to professional tier camera work right here. Yep. Let's take with that explanation. So, this clamped in place. Is it gonna stay? Is it gonna fall? Is my $1,000+ camera gonna fall? No. Okay. Cool. I definitely wasn't worried about that happening at all. Certainly it hasn't happened already yet. Nope. Anyway. This is not a full / self-contained all-in-one toolkit for its purpose. This is a supplementary kit. You're not going to see hand tools in here like you would in my low voltage toolkit. If I have this, I have the low voltage kit, and that has all the hand tools I need. It has my multimeters. So this is specifically supplementary for any IT work I would be doing. And I'll get links for all the stuff I bought that I put into this and add them in the description. So it's 2 layers. Right here we mostly have adapters. This right here is a multi-card reader, memory stick, compact flash, XD. Yeah, I'm not really seeing the screen while I record this, so focus. Yeah. There's one downside. Let me see if I can flip this around. Well, I'm looking at it upside down, but whatever, I can actually see the picture now. So, yeah. SD and TF, that's the micro SD. This is trippy, because it's upside down. If I move in one direction, I see myself move in the opposite direction of the screen. Screw it. You just have to take my word for what you're seeing. It has 3 USB ports. It's a little USB hub and card reader. So, SD card, micro SD, compact flash, XD, memory stick. that back in place. In here, I got these a while ago. They're quite neat. It's just a multi-USB adapter. Here you have USB-A on one end and a combination of that Apple standard, was it Thunderbolt? I don't know. Whatever old iPhone, or yeah, a lot of the iPhone models use. But on the interior, there's also micro USB. So it's like a dual port. Then there, you have USB-C. And there, you have another USB-C. So it gives you a lot of adapter options. A to C, C to C, A to either Apple or USB micro, or C to Apple or USB micro. And it has a little magnet that helps stick it together. And then that little TPU or boot, I think it is, that covers it. A convenient little adapter. I have two things in here, two flash drives. These are kind of mid-quality 128 gig SanDisks, but SanDisk does make good quality memory. This is a recent lesson I learned. If you're going to buy flash drives, primarily just get either SanDisk or Samsung. Those two know what they're doing. They do it well. I've been burned, specifically recently I got these Gorilla Drive brand flash drives. I was getting them purely for their durability, and they are physically durable, but the memory controller and the actual flash memory inside was absolute crap. And I had bought two. One was on USB 3, transferring at 5 megabit a second, and the other just failed after an hour of use. Would not buy again. So this is just blank, and this has a program we'll go over a little bit later. You can Google it, MediCat. M-E-D-I-CAT. It is the embodiment of a project I was looking to put together a while ago. It is an all-in-one boot diagnostic suite. It has an aggregation of practically every tool ever made for that purpose, and it's customizable. It's based on a Ventoy base, which if you know about Ventoy, then you know. If not, Ventoy is a tool to make it easy to make multi-boot USB drives. And because of that, in addition to all the tools it has preloaded, you can just drag and drop ISO files for your Windows 10, Windows 11 ISO files to use this as installable media. And you can put all of your Linux live environment or bootable ISO files in another folder, and you can boot to any of those. You can install from any of those. You can use it to run VHDs, virtual hard drives, and tons of tools. It is, like I said, the embodiment of a project I've been working on and off for over a year. I did not make this. I don't want to misconstrue that. Someone else made this, and it is the embodiment of something that I've wanted and was working towards for over a year. Google MediCat for that. If you do IT, if you just want options to help with support for your own stuff, I cannot recommend MediCat enough. It's excellent. Moving on. Here we have some USB adapters. A lot of IT a lot of it consists of having the right tool just to connect things. So adapters make up a lot. So this is kind of a USB extension cord. You can use it as an extension cord, and sometimes that's useful. Or you have USB-A to this really old, obsolete USB standard. It's not micro, it's some kind of mini A or something like that. I don't know. You barely ever see it anymore, but if you have to plug in like a really old external or a really old peripheral device, they could have this, and it's useful to have the adapter for obscure stuff. normal micro USB, ancient style USB-A, I believe. I might be wrong. I think it's one of the USB-A connectors. Like, this is also USB-A. That's commonly what was on the other end of devices. Old external hard drives have that. And another kind of old micro USB, again, not the current micro or USB that we're used to, that was the standard before C, but you'll see this in some GPS units. Some cameras might have it. You still have it. Here, I don't have a completely comprehensive set of video adapters. Like, I didn't go as far back as VGA or all of the variants of DVI, and there are some variants. But I got DisplayPort to HDMI and DVI to HDMI to cover the most common bases if you have to plug in a monitor. Let's say someone has, they got a new monitor, it's HDMI, and their computer doesn't have HDMI, but it has DisplayPort or it has DVI, so you'll be able to plug it in. Or they had a monitor die and they only have the new monitor, where the old monitor that died was old. There, you can use this to get the computer up and running. Normal USB-C, and just a USB-A to A. This is for something in the next portion we'll get you. On this side, we have, this is an M.2 NVMe adapter. Sorry for the sound. It's just a NVMe drive or M.2 drive to USB-C adapter. So if you have a drive like out of a motherboard, the computer died, but you want to see if the drive still has data, and usually you don't have something that kills every component in a computer, now you can access that data. You can plug it in by USB-C, which we have right here, another C to C cable. Loud. It's very screechy to take it apart. I'm not sure if that came across. If it didn't, you're welcome. If it did, I apologize. Thermal compound. If you have a bad thermal connection on a heatsink, useful. I'm actually, while I'm thinking about it, I meant to before, I was going to throw in some alcohol swabs in here, because if I'm using this, I'm going to have to clean off the old stuff. So we'll just throw that in now. Alright. SATA cables. Both data and power adapters. Molex to double SATA and SATA to double SATA. If you have the need to plug in power, if all of the ports are used up for power, this will make more. So what we have here is part of a kind of universal power supply for laptops and various devices that use barrel connectors. And also you can just use this to wire something in. There's USB-C, there's micro USB. And this is an inversion cable. If you need to invert center being positive to center being negative, or backwards from that, I forget which it is by default, that cable will do it. And you'll get to see the actual power supply in a second. Alcohol swabs for thermal compound. We just went over that. That's a power adapter for Molex, which goes with something else we'll see in there. But one of the devices in here needs to supply Molex power to a hard drive, and this is the cable for that. And then right here, we have a micro SD to SD adapter. Doesn't take up much space. I found it useful to have. Alright, so let's go to the next section. Quick check. Yeah, okay. So in here, there's more cables. They're kind of arranged so that they take up the least amount of space, but regular Ethernet cable is just a 6-foot Ethernet crossover adapter. Just a regular old Ethernet plug to plug. So if you don't have a jack, but you have an Ethernet cable plugged in something else, you can bridge those two together to use 2 Ethernet cables as one extended Ethernet cable. One 6-foot standard HDMI cable. One USB to RJ45 console cable. Instead of having to go instead of having to go Ethernet to serial as a standard console cable is, and then serial to USB, this just has the controller in it. So you have an all-in-one cable that's just straight to USB, because less and less laptops have serial cables in, or serial ports anymore. And then we have a regular old that kind of power cable, as it's useful to have one of these spare. Pretty much the standard power connector type for computers. Let's see if I can put everything back together nicely flat like it was. I think I can. Yep. So in here we have all the power adapters for all the various devices. This big one is the universal power supply. So there you plug it in. I've tested this on my bench meter. This is pretty accurate, like within 100 millivolts, which is all you need for what you're using this for. It is a piece of Chinesium, so quality is so-so, hit and miss, and I had to futz with the barrel connector to get good connectivity on it. But overall it does work, and it's a useful thing to have in a kit. If you have a laptop with a power connector that died, power brick that died, this can let you boot it up, that kind of stuff. And these are just the power connectors for stuff in here. Here we have just a mini little power strip. 6 outputs with an additional 2 USB-A and 1 USB-C. Computer power supply tester. Very useful. It's basically a self-contained, narrow-purpose multimeter. You can plug in your standard ATX right here. It'll give you voltage readout for all the rails. You can plug in SATA power there. Same thing, it'll give you the power readout. Molex. You can plug in your floppy connectors and your 6-pin and 8-pin right there. Also, you can plug in the 4-pin in this portion of the 8-pin, and it'll give you voltage information for all those rails and tell you what the power supply is actually putting out, and is it alive, is it dead, is it working but only partially, does it have specific dead rails. Useful. This is not the all-in-one cable tester that I wanted. Ideally, I wanted RJ45, HDMI, and USB cable testing. And I could not find a reasonably priced product that did all of that. There was one giant brick of a device that did cable testing for all those and 20 other things, and it wasn't reasonable in terms of size or cost. It was like $60, and it would have taken up all of this and been thick as a brick. So instead I went with this. I was able to find a tester for Ethernet and HDMI. You can use it for RJ11 as well. Just plug it into the center. Works fine. For USB testing, I got this little naked board here for 10 bucks, I think. You supply power by, right there, USB-C power in, and then plug in your cable, whichever it is, Type C or Type A on one side, and then micro C or lightning on this side, and it will show you continuity. So it'll test and show you with these LED outputs if you have intact wiring for your USB cables. If you have a suspect cable and you want to know, is my cable good or is the port bad, etc. This is a USB hard drive adapter. So for 2.5-inch hard drives, or sorry, 3.5-inch hard drives, and this is the one that uses that Molex power connector we saw a little bit ago. 2.5-inch old style laptop drives and SATA drives. Use one of these for power, switched on, and it is USB 3, and you plug it in, and you have access to whatever hard drive you have, except for M.2, which is what that adapter was in there before. Simple little GS305 Netgear unmounted switch. If you're in an environment, there's no spare ports, but you need network access, or you need to free up a port for whatever, there you go. It's a useful thing to have in those situations. I think they're like $15, so it goes in the kit. And that's it. It's not a lot of stuff. Well, alright, that's a subjective opinion. It covers most use cases for IT for the equipment you would need. Not all, but most. Again, no hand tools. That's covered by my toolkit, or my low voltage toolkit, and whatever else is in the van. Because again, if I have this, it'll be on my, or rather in my Milwaukee rolling tool cart, which if I'm anywhere with that, I go with the low voltage kit. There's no scenario that I don't take the tool cart without the low voltage kit. And that's it. Again, I'll post links in the description to all the stuff. Some stuff I have faith in you can find. The Ethernet cable, I believe in you. Just like zip ties, they're everywhere. And altogether, this was around $250 for all this combined. Some of the stuff I already had. The Ethernet cord is pretty ancient. I've had that for maybe 20 years. Same with that Ethernet to Ethernet connector. Everything else is included in that total up price. It was right at the $250 mark for all this. And that's it. Alright, that was one take. Let's see what's coming up.